The arrival of Jeanne, Suzanne or Sujata Sen's mother, and Monica, her daughter, who was the one that wrote the hill, the, the hill of fire, which most of this comes from. They come to Arunachala. In September 1940, a ship carrying troops and civilian passengers set sail from Liverpool. On board were a Frenchwoman named Jeanne Curtil and Monica, her half-Indian granddaughter. They had until now been living together in Brighton, where they may well have passed various members of the Chadwick family on the street without ever realizing that they were distantly connected. Now Jeanne and Monica were on their way to start a new life in India, away from the growing dangers of the war. Having survived an air raid on the eve of departure, the liner safely escaped English waters, though Monica was unable to comprehend why the captain kept zigzagging around instead of just going in a straight line. She was too young to be told that they were dodging German U-boats. Eventually, having taken the long route around the Cape of Good Hope, Jeanne and her granddaughter docked in Bombay. There they were met by Suzanne, that is Sujata Sen, who was Jeanne's daughter and Monica's mother, as mentioned. She was in a car which had herself she drove from the south over a distance of 750 miles. Even today, it would be an epic drive and one which few Western women would consider undertaking alone. But Suzanne was a remarkable person whose great qualities went far beyond her courage and spirit of adventure. She was a gifted dancer, as well as a medical doctor in an age when the profession was very much a male preserve. And also she was the first Theravadan Buddhist priestess in 800 years, a feminist firebrand and fierce anti-vivisectionist. In other words, like Chadwick, she was ahead of her time, and also like him, she was a pilgrim. After a spiritual journey no less torturous and intense than Arthur Osborne's, she too had eventually wound her way to Arunachala and the feet of Ramana Maharshi. Suzanne had naturally been apprehensive about her mother and daughter making the hazardous journey from England to India, but the Maharshi had personally assured her that they would be quite safe. Shortly afterwards, she had a dream in which she saw him sitting outside their house in Brighton with his hand raised in a gesture of protection. And now here they were. And soon 3 generations of the family were in the car together, bumping south towards Arunachala. The day after their arrival, young Monica stepped into the old hall to behold the man about whom she had already heard so much from her mother. She writes, "At first, I was a little afraid to come before her great master, about whom she had written so much to us. But when he looked at me, I felt wonderfully safe and happy. He seemed to be infinitely wise and yet completely innocent, like a child. I saw in him great sweetness and gentleness, and at the same time I felt his power. I knew that he would continue to protect us, and indeed, both Jeanne and I felt his protection again quite soon. I and my difficulties of adjustment in India, where I found myself practically a foreigner, and Jeanne a couple of years later, at a time when she felt she was losing all sense of purpose in life. The manner in which the Maharshi helped Suzanne's mother, Jeanne, revealed extraordinary insight. In 1942, when we came to Tiruvannamalai from Madras, it had been decided that I should go to a boarding school in Bangalore. It was the first time that Jeanne and I were able to be separated from each other, and it brought home to her that I was growing up and would need her less and less in the future. She was so despondent that Suzanne suggested she ask the Maharshi to guide her. So the next morning when we went to him, Jeanne handed the attendant a little slip of paper on which she had written the simple request, "Please give me your guidance for the future." The Maharshi's spontaneous answer was, "Go back to your religion." This was an amazing answer because Jeanne had not informed him or anyone else at the ashram that she had left her religion. That fact was embedded in her past and never brought out, not even before family. Her presence at the ashram did not indicate it either, for there were people of different faiths there, seeing that the Maharshi's doctrine of self-inquiry could be practiced within the structures of any religion, or even without them. Besides, as Suzanne's mother, it was only natural that she should visit the ashram. Soon after we moved to Bangalore, Jeanne passed in front of the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succor. She did not go in, finding it difficult to take the first step. However, a few days later, she went back, taking with her some clothes for the poor so as to have a pretext for entering. She was received there by an old and wise Redemptorist priest, who, after listening attentively to what she had to say, spoke to her not of God's wrath nor of sin, but only of God's love. Finally, pointing to the bundle which she had brought with her, he said, "You see this bundle?" And then putting it behind her, said, "It is behind you, just as your past is behind you. Go now and look forward only to your life with Christ." She felt spiritually healed by attending Mass and receiving communion once more. Every day she read a passage from the Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis and meditated on it. It was her aim to walk in the steps of Christ by conforming her life wholly to his. That intention meant, in effect, putting herself under disciplines of self-denial and of turning inwards to God. And hers was practically a monastic regime. She prayed for grace that she might persevere on her path, and persevere she did for 23 years until her death in 1965. Her story brings to mind that the Maharshi obtained some of his best results with women who suffered on account of a child, as in the case of his own mother, who had had to lose him in a certain sense, that after his realization, he would never again be her son in an ordinary manner, and there was no longer a mother and son relationship in that way. And then there was Echamal, one of the earliest devotees who had come to him when she was almost out of her mind with grief after losing her husband, only son, and daughter, one after the other. In the Maharshi's compassionate presence, Echamal began to feel some relief, but soon fate struck her another cruel blow when she lost her adopted daughter. It was through the practice of the Maharshi's meditation of self-inquiry that she would finally find peace, since the self alone holds lasting happiness. In time, she became a well-known figure at the ashram, held in respect for the equanimity of mind she had acquired, as well as her hospitality and her great devotion to the Maharshi. When Echamal died on 27th December 1945, she had fulfilled a 38-year vow not to eat until she had first served the food she had prepared to her guru and had seen him eat at least a morsel of it.